Well, I'm sitting here with Jim Ide of Ide Electric. Did I say that right?
Okay.
Ide Electric?
Yes.
And you actually saw my first podcast in person that I ever did at Dirt World.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. So it was kind of funny. We were both in Texas at Dirt World and didn't even realize that we were both Pennsylvania boys. So you're a little bit northern more than me.
A little bit. Not too far, but.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
welcome to the line.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
This is great. Texas was a great experience. That was our second time at the Dirt World.
Okay.
And excellent content. We had, at that trip, we only had myself and one of our project managers at that. The year before we had, there was 4 of us down there, my brother included. But the Dirt World event was great. So.
Yeah, I love what they're doing. So, talk to me a little bit about, I want to ask you about your origins, but you're sitting here today, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but you're more than just sitting on a podcast with Blackline. Today was, you had a good portion of your company here today at our institute going through some of your first training classes.
Yeah, we did. It was an exciting day. We had the majority of our crew was down here today. The morale of that is excellent.
Yeah.
Here at Blackline we're participating. We're a partner with Blackline with their apprenticeship program.
Okay.
We get into it a little bit.
Yeah, we can.
later,
Well, it's this podcast. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
It's the really cool part about it.
Today we had the majority of everybody down. We've had multiple discussions with all of our employees about what we're going to be introducing to them. The feedback was excellent.
Yeah.
So it's great to be part of it.
So just kind of curious for those that are listening, you're an electrical contractor here in Pennsylvania. And what is the type of work that you and your team do? Because I actually think you do a very interesting you do many different facets of it, but talk to me a little bit about your oil and gas and what that's about.
Yeah, so we have we call it 3 divisions. We have an oil and gas division that they are daily on a natural gas well pad. They do everything from site utility power all the way to instrumentation. They do they'll do everything. They'll do process measurement. They will do instrument tubing. Everything there is as far as an instrument on a well pad, our crews are touching or installing.
Wow.
Their work ethic is incredible.
I could see that when I saw some of the guys in class today, and also the success rate was pretty high in class. So kudos to you guys.
Yeah, they're an excellent group of individuals. I can't say enough good about them.
Yeah.
So that's our oil and gas side. They cover a lot of ground. They are covering almost all of the northeastern part of the Marcellus Shale.
Okay.
Multiple customers and clients, and that makes up one division. And then we have a commercial division that is your typical retail to warehouse. And they do get involved in some residential. We have a crew on a really high-end residential project right now, and then we have our industrial. But our industrial is pretty much isolated to water.
Okay.
So we get involved with a lot of landfill, so leachate, landfill operations, wastewater, and public drinking water.
Okay.
That is a very interesting field.
Yeah. That's where I cut my teeth as an electrician, is in the wastewater and the water treatment side.
Yeah, I had a lot of involvement in that division up until about 4 months ago. I project managed that part of the company. Recently handed that over to an individual, Harry. So Harry now runs that division, and it's great. It's just like the other divisions. When I handed it off to another individual to focus on, it started to grow.
Yeah.
They do a better job at it than I do. It's great to watch, that's for sure.
I think that's the importance of, building a team of people, and a team of people that are working towards a common goal. You can always tell when, when you're pulling in a certain direction and everybody's not pulling together as a team. And when you have the right people, what does Jim Collins say? The right people in the right seats on the bus. I mean, we're here in Pennsylvania. I grew up working. One of my very first jobs was working on a farm for an Amishman years and years ago. And I can remember a team of like 12 mules. I was too weak to actually, lift and stack the hay bales. So he put me in, driving the mules. And it was interesting. He had one mule that was pulling a little different than the others. And the pack of mules pulled better without that guy than they did with him. They were actually more effective without him because they were able to work together. And so when you have a team like you're talking about, it was pretty obvious that you guys are all pulling in the same direction together.
Yeah.
And that's a great feeling. Also makes it easier to identify when someone's not pulling the right.
Yes. Yeah. It's clear. And it's to the point where if we have a non-performer, I don't even have to really point it out.
Right.
The rest of the team does it.
Yeah.
So if we have somebody that's not pulling their weight, most of the time it's some type of personal problem, something like that we could bring that person back, back on. Sometimes we notice that it's just not. It was maybe a potential bad hire. Maybe we hired somebody that wasn't right fit for the job. But the nice part is it's not up to me to make that call anymore. That decision is brought to me by the team, and it comes from every level. From the entry-level apprentice will speak their mind, and it's great. It's great for great feedback. So,
why do you, talking a little bit about your origins, and as you've been growing the business, I've been following you here, and you guys have been doing a really good job. You're getting involved in posting and promoting what you're doing, and you've really been investing in that. I guess I'm curious. Tell us a little bit about your origins. Like, how did you end up being an owner, operator, and now CEO of an electrical company?
Yeah, it was an interesting start.
Yeah, and I've heard this story before, so let's go with the truncated version.
Yeah.
Because I think the first time I heard it was 3 hours, and we're not Joe Rogan.
No.
So, I mean,
you
do have his haircut.
Yeah, I do. Long story short, when I started, I went to school. I went to community college. My first year, I didn't do very well. And my dad and my grandfather pulled me aside and made a suggestion that I go to a trade school because they always knew that I was good at working my hands. That was my thing. And they didn't care what trade it was. They just suggested any trade. So I listened to my grandfather. My grandfather suggested electrical work and moved through that, went through that program, and it was excellent. It was a life changer for me.
Yeah.
And then while I was in school, I decided to just start doing some side jobs. Basically, I would drive around local developments, fill up people's mailbox with flyers until I got informed by a postman that I wasn't allowed to put them inside the mailbox. So
you're the first person to admit that he's broken federal law on the air.
Yes.
That's impressive.
Yeah, they were very cordial about it, and they just said you can't do that. And
a lot of people don't know that.
No, I learned kind of the hard way, but in a professional, nice way. So then I started putting on the side of the mailbox until the wind would blow and everything would go down the road. So I just stopped. But by that point, I already had a decent customer base. So built it up from that. That turned in from landscape lighting to your basic residential, small upgrades, ceiling fans, receptacles, things like that. And throughout that process, I had a little bit. I was very involved with motorcycle racing, motocross racing, and that was my driving force. Like I worked to pay for racing. It just turned out I wasn't that good. I was pretty good, but not that good in the eyes of like the big picture. I didn't perform as well as I wanted to, but it took me a few years to figure that out. And I once I figured it out, I knew I always had a spot for electrical. Like that was always I always enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed the work. I still enjoy the work. Yeah. I always enjoyed the electrical work. I always enjoyed trade work in general. Like even to this day, we'll pour our own concrete pads.
Well, electricians, I mean, I when I grew up in the trade, I never knew anybody else would pour the pad.
Yeah.
Because the electrical outfit that I worked for, it was like we just do our own concrete work.
Yeah. We'll do. We own an excavator. Yeah. We own an excavator. We own a skid steer. Now, if the project gets complicated, I mean, obviously, we know our means. Like, we know where to stop. Yeah. My mid-20s, I decided that I was going to take the electrical business as serious as I possibly can. I was going to take that same drive I had with racing and put it into the electrical world. And it worked out great in the beginning. And from an individual standpoint, the business thrived. I had a couple employees, and it was excellent. And the whole time I knew when I was getting involved with it that I enjoyed the commercial industrial side. That was my driving force.
I've had enough of laying in insulation in attics, putting ceiling fans in.
100 plus degrees.
I would rather work in a wastewater plant, and that's saying something because
me too.
That smells like money, which doesn't smell great.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. You put me in a wastewater treatment plant any day before you put me in an attic.
Yeah.
I started growing the business into that direction. I got a unique opportunity to get involved in oil and gas. There was a little bit of shift in some companies, and one of the main, the larger companies in that area reached out to me, and they asked us if we wanted to start doing work directly with them. Actually, at first I said no, because the insurance requirements were through the roof.
Yeah.
But then I thought about it. I looked at it as a little bit of more of an opportunity. I think it's a high barrier of entry.
Yeah.
A high barrier of entry will reduce competition.
I agree.
Yeah.
You find your niche, and it does reduce that. It's one of the reasons that I love commercial industrial electrical work versus residential is there's way less competition, and honestly the bigger the job, the competition changes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that residential job we were just talking about.
Yeah,
we were the third highest bidder on that job. There was 3 bids.
Yeah,
and it's obviously a private job.
Right.
They pulled us to the side. They said, we know your company.
Yeah.
We know rough size of your company. We know you could produce. We want you to do the job.
Yeah.
And that job is almost wrapped up right now. So.
Well, and honestly, isn't it more? I was just talking with a company here with Ryan earlier, and they have a job that they bid for a client, and they were high, and the client went with someone else, and they called them back to finish the job. And the sad part is they're actually going to end up paying almost double. Yeah. In fixing the job, in that, so to speak. But yet the client recognizes that, and it's been an opportunity for them to be like, you know what, we need you. And it's not the first time that I've heard of that happening with electrical outfits where they're called in to finish something. There's that lowest qualified bid, which electrical work is pretty complicated, and there's a lot of factors.
Sure is.
And I don't want to diss the guys that are starting. Let me just be really clear. When I started, I bought more projects than I knew that I bought. And I often ended up working for less than minimum wage, and I didn't know that until I was 3/4 into the project. So,
yeah, I did that for the first 7 to 8 years in business. So know right where you're coming from. And I've also been on that customer side where, I've done my own projects at my house. Like I've had renovations, and I've hired the wrong people.
Yeah,
and
me too.
You get real humble real quick.
Oh,
So now when I look at bids, like if we're subcontracting something, we're qualifying not just at the price, at the experience.
Yeah.
It's very important.
I learned that early on with bids with different subcontractors that we use on projects, and it's like it really stung actually, because you end up having to pay for it, and it's like, oh, this is not fun.
No, and unfortunately, it still happens. Like we don't have it down perfect either.
Well, isn't it one of those things? Don't you feel like the more time goes on, you kind of have to get reminded? Like just in life, for me, I have these things that I do wrong, and I go for a long time, and everything's okay, and then I'm like, oh, well, that's not going to happen again. Yeah. And I try it, and I'm like, oh, this is why I don't do that. So. Well,
I have a good point.
We don't edit anything. Remember that.
No. I was going to say, like, there's a lot of stuff that events you go to, right? As far as helping your business grow and things like that. And I feel like I go to a lot of these events. I don't over consume my time with it, but a lot of times I go to these events and I realize I'm just being reminded of what I should be doing. I'm not necessarily learning. A lot of times I'm being reminded, and you need to be reminded on occasion. It's important. So.
Yeah.
But I know
it's crazy. It's interesting that your niche is in the oil and gas. When we first met, we were actually we crossed paths. I don't think I met you when we were in Texas, but
No, we didn't meet.
everybody thinks Oklahoma and Texas when they think of oil and gas. And I think a lot of people don't know this, but Pennsylvania is where oil started.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. Even parts of the lower southern tier of New York. Now,
Yeah.
you can't frack in New York State whatsoever.
Right.
But yeah, you're right.
Well,
And-
it's Rockefeller, Oil City, Pennsylvania is a town that exists. That's where he used to keep his, like, you know, the area there where he has a building and it's just a bunch of safes, like walk-in bank safes. Like it's like,
so I don't know this. No.
Oh, are you serious?
No, I'm gonna have to look into
dude,
this.
Oil
So-
City is so cool. I mean, it's trying to be revitalized. It's out in the middle, like, you know, kind of like a factory town where people have left now, and so we have a couple of those in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we do.
But it's got such a rich history because oil was discovered here. That's how Rockefeller, you know, made his start. Standard Oil was his company.
Yes. Yeah.
And this building, like an old brick warehouse type thing, it has halls in there, these giant like vaults, walk-in vaults, and that's where Rockefeller would keep his gold and money and things like that in those. And so they've turned it into like an art district now.
I'm gonna have to look into.
It's
this.
pretty cool.
Yeah, this
it's
is
pretty cool.
really interesting.
So
So a lot of Pennsylvania, like, even when you get out to southern Pennsylvania, southwest Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
Ohio, there's a lot of work out that area as well. Yeah,
so you guys
it's-
travel a lot then.
We don't go out. We've only got out in Pittsburgh area like once or twice.
Okay.
They're more specialty jobs. A lot of our work is from north central over to northeastern Pennsylvania as far as oil and gas goes.
In oil and gas, do you guys do a lot of skid work?
So on occasion.
Okay.
A lot of our work is the completions. So this is after drilling operations, after frac, after flowback. We go in and do
Okay.
all the final tie-in, and then we do troubleshooting and upgrades as well. Some of the skid work on occasion that we see a lot on the drilling operations.
Yeah.
A lot of the drilling operations, it seems that there's a lot of in-house technicians that
Yeah.
take care of that.
Yeah.
So we don't get involved too much on that. We've assisted with design, like we've had to do some heat trace on some of those
Yeah.
skids, but most of the time it comes prepackaged from somewhere else,
Yeah.
and then they drop it. So
That's funny. We've done a lot of skid work, or I've done that when I was younger here locally, and they would get shipped all over the place.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now we haven't been present that brought that opportunity yet.
Yeah.
If it ever did, I'd love it. But
You know, it's a really interesting type of work because you work in one place and it's,
Yeah.
you know,
the efficiency is
Yeah,
there.
efficiency is something that's really cool.
Yeah.
So what's a piece of gear or tool that you just can't live without?
All right, so I've thought about this. I know you asked this
Yeah.
question. So for the longest time, it was the Klein 11-1. And,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in Milwaukee, just a Milwaukee utility razor knife. Right now, I have this Leatherman that I can't live without. I actually had to send it back, and Leatherman fixed it, sent it right back. So it was great.
Yeah, Leatherman
A little
was
plug
awesome.
on Leatherman
Yeah.
there, but
We're not sponsored by them.
no, and I don't get any money.
We
from
wouldn't
either.
we wouldn't say no, Leatherman.
No, absolutely.
What type of Leatherman is it? Because they have a wide variety.
I have it in my pocket.
Holy shit.
So it's pretty basic. It's just a basic knife, but the number one thing I use on this is just for going out and open up cabinets, just a straight blade.
Yeah.
But that's it. I have this thing in my pocket everywhere I go.
What's it called?
The Free K2.
The Free K2. He had to
Not
read
free.
that.
It's not free.
It's
But yeah, so that's my daily carry. That, I mean, everybody says their phone, but
yeah.
I would love to leave that at home sometimes. But
I
yeah.
actually have a second phone. It's called the Light Phone.
Okay. Not familiar.
And so it looks like a little black brick. And I try to use that on the weekends when I'm with my family because all it does is phone calls and texts.
So it's interesting you say this. I've been thinking about this, and
Yeah.
T-Mobile offers a phone.
Really?
Yeah, it's a flip phone only,
Yeah.
and it's like a ridiculously low monthly
Yeah.
cost. And I want to do the same thing.
I found it really helpful. So I'm a kind of, I've talked about this from time to time, but I have a drawer, and when I get home at night, I try to put my phone in that drawer, and it's actually gotten way more difficult since being involved in Blackline and media and marketing and branding and all of that stuff being a part of my life. But my wife is very good at reminding me of the rules that I set
yeah,
and holding me to them.
it's good.
And
It's a good way.
so, but it's so important because your phone actually changes your brain. It is very much a dopamine hit. It very much is and it's a good test to be like, all right, I'm gonna put it in a drawer or turn it off or whatever, because especially if you're married and your wife has a phone or someone else in your family has a phone, or nobody has landlines anymore, I don't think.
No, we don't. Yeah.
But it's like, then, you're not, it's a good test to just see, because if it really bothers me, well, then I do it more, because I don't like being controlled by something else.
No, and just the awareness when you don't have your phone, when
Yeah.
you're around your family, around your kids, wife.
Oh yeah, you're present.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
present with your family and
Yeah.
kids, and I try my best to do the same.
Yeah,
Weekdays are tough. Weekends,
yeah,
it's nice. Actually, where I live, once I step foot outside my house, because I don't have service where I live.
yeah.
I lose.
Dude,
I lose
that's
things.
awesome.
It's great. I have our shop has terrible service. We have network extenders everywhere, and my wife's like,
Oh, you're probably getting so much cancer. Like you were just bathed in it.
Just soaking it in. That's what happened to the hair. But my wife's like, you can do this at the house. I'm like, I don't know if I want to.
Yeah.
I might just let it go. It's
Yeah.
fine. Because when I'm outside with the kids, they're riding their bikes, playing. Like, our yard's not landscaped yet. We just moved into our house last summer, and there's dirt piles out there. Our kids just play in the dirt pile. It's great.
Yeah.
I love watching it. I'll go out there, hang out with them. So
When I was a kid, that was my mom said that was one of the best presents to get, that my parents did an addition on the house.
Mhm.
And so times were different when I was a kid. It seemed like construction took way longer. So we had like a dirt hill where they dug out for the addition that was there for the entire summer.
Mhm.
And my mom thought it was hysterical. I just played on that dirt hill all summer long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
we have 4 loads of topsoil in our backyard right now, and our kids they're coming to the house completely filthy, but it's great.
That's crazy. So you started your own company, and one of the things that you said that I think is really important that I want to touch on, you said in the beginning it was working really well for you as an individual.
Yes.
And I want to highlight that, and I want to talk about that, because there's a difference between being an employer and being self-employed.
Absolutely.
And if you are an employer and you're a founder, at some point you were self-employed, but it is a whole different ball game when you become an employer. And everybody who is self-employed, me included when I was there, thought that they understood and knew what I'm talking about right now. And again, I'm saying me first here. I thought that, and I had no idea what it was to be an employer.
It is a necessary road that you have to travel.
Well, don't you say? I think it's important for when you become when you become self-employed. I think it's an important thing to recognize that. Well, what do you want?
Yeah.
And so for me, I am not the kind of guy that I want to work alone. I want to, like, your people were here today, and I love the camaraderie. I love the team. I love the culture, and building together. That's what I really enjoy.
Yeah, culture's been something that I've been working on within the team.
Yeah.
Aggressively, a lot.
Yeah.
Not as of late, like last, I'd say 4 years.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I didn't focus on it at all.
Yeah.
So it was, in the beginning, it was really individual driven.
Yeah.
And it took me a little bit to just to realize,
Yeah.
why I was having issues, why I was having problems. I could kind of get into this a little bit, but when I first started out, I had, I went through quite a bit of employees in the beginning, and
Yeah.
And then I kind of figured, step back, like
Me too.
What's the common denominator? It's me.
Yeah.
That's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So I started rethinking a little bit, and that's kind of what got things started. So as far as the shift, the change in my thinking in the business and the direction of the business.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's.
So, I mean, for you had that realization, and you didn't want to just be self-employed. You wanted to, I think that's the other thing, is you can go different places with a team that you can't go by yourself.
Yes.
There's really cool things that you can do by yourself that, like, there are things that I miss from that. And I think one of the biggest things that I have struggled with over the years in building team, you talk about, well, you're the problem when things, a team of people really reveals what's going on in you. I think it highlights that. And the importance of recognizing, and at different times, when you say, like in the beginning, you went through people, I did that in the beginning, and then there were different phases in the company where there were changes where it was like, wait, what's going on again? Like, and sometimes, especially when you're building something new, whether it's a new division within a company or even the company that you might have founded or started, it's like you have these phases of cycling where you're trying to figure things out. And I would say it like this, you know, I had to learn how to run a company with 5 people. I had to learn how to run, like every time I hit a certain metric, it was like learning how to run a whole new company.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, 10 people is different than 35 people.
Yeah, it is.
And 35 people is different than 80 people. Like it's just, it's a whole different ballgame, and you have to learn that at each stage. And it can be painful too.
Yeah, it can. So for me, I had those stages as well. Like
Yeah.
every other business has. Right now, we have 24 employees.
Good for you, man.
For me, running 1 to 3 employees wasn't that difficult. It was
Yeah.
a lot of individual, and you said like you've established a team, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna put an Alex Judd note in here, right? So if you wanna travel fast, you go by yourself, right?
Yeah.
If you wanna go far, you do it with the team.
Yeah.
So we're in team mode right now. Like we're not an individual. We're team mode. But so in the beginning, it was me and 1 to 2 other people coming through. What I found for me, and because I didn't really restructure my business when it grew, so we started to grow relatively fast just because of the demand.
Yeah.
So we hit 8-9 employees. 8-9 employees was for me absolutely miserable. Like
Yeah.
it was the most difficult time in my life, the
Yeah.
most stressful time in my life. It was right around the time I had my first kid. So there was a lot of things, a lot of moving parts going on. It was really difficult for me at that point, and it took some, some events, some things that happened for me to realize like this
Yeah.
is not a good way to live life.
Yeah.
I saw a couple things happened, and I had to make some changes.
Yeah.
And that was 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's worked not flawlessly. I shouldn't say flawlessly. It's surprising how positive it has changed by passing off responsibility to certain individuals that are in our company today,
Yeah.
and watching them grow and watching them take responsibility. And it's one of those things like I wish I did this years ago, but I wasn't ready at that point either.
You are at one of my favorite stages of a company. 25 for me was I was able to be involved in everything.
Yep.
In every team, and I remember growing past that, and it changed, and it was very hard for me. A matter of fact, we're in stages even now as an organization. I'm a little bit broken in my brain in the sense of if something starts to work and it's grown to a certain point, well, then I want to be involved in something else.
Yeah.
Like I like to build shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. We're builders. That's
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
So our current business plan, like our whole mindset is focused on 30, right?
Yeah.
So we'd say 30 individuals, but we're structured. We could handle 30.
Yeah.
Once we break past that, we're going to be in that rebuilding stage.
Yeah.
And now, so what we've openly discussed this with all of our employees. It's like, well, let's get to 30. Let's fine tune it so it's efficient and it's a good place to work.
Yeah.
Then we'll consider if we really want to, what do we want to do beyond that? Do we want to shoot for 100? Do we want to try to expand this? Do we want to blow it up? Or is it better to stay in
Right.
that tight niche? So it's going to be a decision, in reality, probably a decision within the next year to 2 years
Yeah.
that we'll have to make. But I'm okay with that. I'm excited for
Yeah.
it. It's growth is exciting, right?
Yeah.
And the people I'm doing it with, I wouldn't want to share it with anybody else.
Yeah.
So it's
My executive team is like that. They're like they're the ride or die guys.
yeah.
They really are. Like I heard some sort of post on Instagram. I was listening to it, and the guy said, he goes, "Who's your 3 a.m. phone call?
Yeah.
Who's the guy that you call 3 o'clock in the morning and be like, hey, we got to go take care of something?" Like, yeah.
I'm fortunate to have a couple of those.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. My executive team is that I could literally call any one of them. There's one, if I called him, he's like, "Really, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm sleeping."
yeah.
He would
yeah,
still come and help me, but he would let me know that it was a pain in his ass.
absolutely.
So,
We all
and
got that.
if you're listening, you know who you are.
yeah. So no, it's so yeah, that was like our bit of a hurdle. So
Yeah.
it was a me thing. It was a me thing. I was on this one-man mission to do as much work as possible, and then there's only so many 16-hour days you could really tolerate.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah, your wife can get kind of, if you're married, your wife or girlfriend can really get to be like, not.
not only that,
Not
when you're
cool.
not making money doing it either.
Yeah.
So like,
Well, welcome to entrepreneurship.
yeah, you're cracking out these hours, and you're like, what's left?
Yeah.
And so that's when you're stressed from work, and you're stressed because you don't have any money, and you're like, all right, I got to rethink this. I got to go back, and yeah. So that's. Do
you want to know how stupid I was when I worked as an employee? When I was an apprentice, we did a lot of government work, and you talk about that. You weren't making any money. I can remember working on these government jobs, and I was making bank in rate work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, the company has got to be loaded. I was so stupid because I'm like, because I mean, they bid the job, so there's only so much money in the job. So if a mistake was made, and they would pay me to fix my own mistakes, it was like I was literally burning through their profits. I was such an idiot. I remember my first government job, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is way. Oh crap! I'm losing money. Yeah.
Yeah, and they move way slower. Those jobs.
Yeah.
They're good and bad. There's good and bad there.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. We both have done work and still are maintaining those relationships. So that's why he's cautious in the way that he's talking right now. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. But so that's a little bit of the past of the company.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's.
When you talk about Alex Judd and Path for Growth, talk about that a little bit for me. What impresses me about that, Jim, is that you, first of all, I know that investing in culture like that is not inexpensive.
No.
But yet, why do you think that is so valuable to have an outside consultant type? And, we all hate the consultant word. People say, well, if you're a consultant, then, you probably consult because you don't know how to do. Yeah. And some consultants are that way. But the reality is you need someone outside of your company to, I'm answering the question for you, but don't you think that plays into it? Talk a little bit about why you're making that investment and why you're doing that.
Yeah, so this is relatively new. We met Alex at Dirt World in November, and he actually picked me out of the crowd. I had to do this skit with him. Man, it was brutal. I had a fake run right next to him. But so I got to meet him. I got to meet some people from his team, and so we decided to take the plunge on it. I was like, all right. And then I was a little bit embarrassed. I didn't tell anybody from my team for like a couple weeks there, and then Joe, one project manager, one of my good friends. Joe, I've been friends with Joe.
Yeah.
I've been friends with him since I was 5 years old. He grew up down the street with me. So
and he works with you.
Yeah, and we're close.
You are a better person than me. All my friends left.
Yeah. Well, Joe and I have an interesting relationship. Actually, day one, him and I were like, listen, if we don't like something, you got to say it.
Yeah.
And that was the rule. And we've had those conversations.
Yeah.
So it's gone well. But anyway, so Joe was like, what's going on? Did you do that? I'm like, yeah, man. I did it. And he's like, you spent the money? I'm like, yeah, dude, I did. And he's like, all right. He's like, well, let's see how it works. Right. So, anyways, he assigned me with coach. Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So I did a little bit of background. I called their customers. I called a couple of their customers.
Yeah.
Who liked it. And
that's because you're a tradesman.
Yeah.
We kind of are funny like that.
Yeah. Well, it was a decent investment, not only money, but time.
Yeah.
I knew the time side of it. So I was well aware of what I was kind of going to be committing to on time with this. And I was like, you know what? I'm lacking in this department, right?
Yeah.
I'm lacking. I've gone to different leadership seminars. I mean, I've been to Echelon Front. I've stood in front of Jocko. I met Jocko. Excellent program. I saw a picture of you shaking his hand. Yeah, that was a game changer. That's where it started. That's where like the whole leadership thing, like where I was like, all right, this is important, and I need to bring this back. The Extreme Ownership book is. I recommend that to any new business owner. That's the first book I tell people to read. But and I'm not a big reader. Like I can't say it up here and say I'm one that burns through books. But
Audible helps with that.
Audible does, and I got a decent amount of windshield time, so I could jump on that. But regardless, I got assigned a coach, right? And I don't know. I wasn't tough talking to the guy or anything. I was just like, hey, listen, I'm gonna try this 3 months, right?
Right.
And 3 months, if I start seeing some results, then I'll change. I'll stop it because it's month to month, right? well, the math on it now, push 6 months here, and I'm not going anywhere. The value it's proven. Like they set us up, like they gave us some structure. They helped with forming a leadership organization with our own company, and passing off a little bit of the responsibility, not necessarily as a leadership, but buy-in. Like when you're changing something in the company, it sure helps when you have buy-in from your own leadership team. So prior to that, we didn't have a designated leadership team. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody kind of knew their place, but now we are.
That's one of the biggest things that helped me was learning that you need a leadership team.
Yes.
Yeah.
We meet every week. We meet every Monday morning.
Wow.
Our leadership team meets. We have a specific agenda that we adhere to. Accountability was a big thing on our part. Like we thought of all these not in a negative way either. It's not like we had any like major problems, but we would come up with these ideas and we're like, oh yeah, let's do this tool inventory thing. So we have to sign out tools out of our shop, like major tools, like threaders, just to keep track. And then they get signed out once or twice and they wouldn't come back. And we'd be like, hey, where's that, where's that $10,000 tugger at?
Yeah.
Like nobody knows. It's like, all right, guys. So,
yeah, you get a couple of those missing, you notice.
Yeah. So, and it's usually like on Friday, and that you're like you have something going on Monday with you. You're trying to prep, and then it's like the mad dash over the weekend. So it helped. But back to the leadership program, Path for Growth here. It's substantially helped.
Yeah.
Just the thought process and like the mindset that it puts you in.
Yeah.
That's where I found it beneficial. It's like, changing the way you're thinking about a problem you have in the company or reframing issues. It's definitely made me think outside of the box.
For sure.
It has helped tremendously.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get like a joke around. I thought my guys were going to kind of bust my chops about it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I got way more support than I anticipated.
Yeah.
Similar to the support I got when we talked about this apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
Not I'm not changing topics on it, but
well, I don't mind you changing topics to talk about how awesome the Blackline Institute is. Yeah.
But yeah, in short, the Path for Growth, like, and I did look at some other options. Like I looked at the EOS program. I read the EOS book. Path for Growth stood out to me because it was simplified.
Yeah.
It wasn't complicated. And I don't think this should be complicated.
I agree.
So less complicated for me.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Absolutely.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have other things, like they have weekly phone calls. You jump on with other business owners and you discuss problems within the company, discuss wins. Like it's not all negative. You talk about the positive as well.
Yeah.
So it's a community as well. I'm actually going to be traveling out, not next week, the week after, out to New York. They're going to have an event, so I'm gonna sit on that event.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so the support I got from my the staff, like the guys that work with, my wife included. My wife works with the company. My wife handles a lot of the financials, and so the support end of it was excellent. And then when we brought up this idea of this apprenticeship program, the support was overwhelming positive.
Really?
I was like, I'm gonna have to sell this to the guys. Like, I'm gonna tell them they're gonna be in a class every other week. You're gonna have to go home and do some homework. Not even a little bit. Don't
you think it's and just to be clear, that's the Blackline Institute.
Yes, Blackline.
Yeah, not Alex Judd. I just wanted to make sure that's clear. Alex is great, but so apprenticeship training for electrical. Well, don't you think that their response? I agree with you. I would think that way too, but I think that things are changing, like from when you and I came up, because I feel like people feel like you're investing in them.
Yeah, that I agree. And I think that's the way they looked at it. Is like they're looking at as like big picture. This company is trying to take care of me. They're trying to get me to the next level. That was a big part of it. It's like, well, if you look at an organizational structure and like, how do you grow within your company? Right?
Yeah.
Well, this was almost a no-brainer for us. It's like you create this apprenticeship program. You're showing every field technician, every electrician, however you want to phrase it, a path for success, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you need to work X amount of hours and participate in these classes, be active, be present with what you're doing. amongst all the regular expectations, showing up on time, and that's how you grow in this company.
Yeah.
It's not a, well, show up,
Yeah.
and oh yeah, so and so shows up every Saturday, and he gets a raise. Well,
Yeah.
that it shouldn't be the basis of it. It should be a production basis, and like a better way of measuring value, I would
Yeah.
say. So
Yeah.
without putting a number to somebody, I'm not trying to put a number to somebody, but I'm just saying it's a better path.
Yeah.
So that was the one of the primary reasons we got involved with this. So
Well, I'm really glad that you became a Blackline partner, and that you have partnered in Blackline training and our institute in teaching your people. You met some of we call them mentors that we have here at the school, and you guys were going through one of your first classes today. I'm curious, when you talk about that, and you talked a little bit earlier. I don't remember if you'd said this or not, but what is it that is appealing about the mentors that you have seen, the instructors, the guys that are teaching these classes? What do you feel like made your team be so engaged? Because they truly were.
yeah, I'll start with myself.
Yeah.
I kind of randomly met Caleb.
Yeah.
Right. We were having lunch with a friend, a mutual friend.
Yeah.
And we were discussing some of the struggles that we're having, and I didn't know what he did. I didn't know his involvement at all. And I was like,
well, I think you guys started talking about the podcast. He's like, yeah, that's my boss.
yeah, he did. I was like, I was blown away by it. It's a small world, right?
Yeah.
But and he's like, well, we have what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And as far as training goes, and
What were you looking for?
I was looking for an apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
I was looking for some type of way to formalize, to have a formal training on more of the electrical theory, code side
Yeah.
of it. Our employees, our electricians,
Yeah.
mechanically are excellent.
Yeah.
Some of them are not familiar with the code book.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not ashamed to say it, but if you put
The code book was never my skill set, and I worked with guys that knew the code book like the back of their hand, but they couldn't find the back of their hand. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They couldn't glue
Yeah.
PVC together. Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
the staff we have, like I noticed this little bit of a void. Like there was a void, and it was easy to notice. Like if there was ever a technical question, it came back to me.
Yeah.
If there was ever a code question, it fell back on my shoulders. I have training in it.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, we need to, and I didn't just bring this up. It wasn't just me. We have one of our lead guys. His name's Chip. He's in late 50s, and he said, your guys are excellent. He's like, but they don't know any theory at all.
Yeah.
Like I could go tell them to hook up, a 25 kVA transformer and tell them to run number 10s to it, and they'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, we need to stop that.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that he's like, they're not doing it. He's like, because they know know
Right.
better to go ahead and do something without asking. But so we're like, yeah, let's get some formalized training, and we looked around. And we didn't find a good fit. At this point, I was already really invested in the company culture.
Yeah.
Right. And we have a tight knit group of individuals. Like
Yeah.
you know our guys, right?
Yeah.
You met our guys, and they all know each other. They hang out a lot outside of work. They spend a
Wow.
lot of time with each other outside of work.
That's really cool, dude.
And I just told you, like, one of the project managers I've known since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Like, so we have history.
Yeah.
So I had a major concern about maybe losing that morale, the continuity between our employees
Yeah.
by going other sources, right? So after talking to Caleb, I was like, this might be the way to go.
Yeah.
So we're here.
Yeah.
We're doing it. And it's exciting. Like I said,
Yeah.
I've said this a couple times now, but yeah, that's what led us to be here. And that's what in the individual. Sorry, your question was with the individual. So yeah, you had a couple of guys from your staff come right up to our
Yeah.
office, and
Yeah.
it was a meet and greet, and we they discussed what we're going to be looking at, what we're going to be doing, the things that they're going to be, the topics that we're going to go over, and it wasn't a hard sell. Like I said, it wasn't a hard sell on our guys. It was welcomed. It was welcomed across our entire group. There in the beginning, there was one or two people that were a little bit like, oh, I have to go back to school.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, I'm like, this is going to, like, your level where you're at.
I agree. It definitely is going to level you. It's going to 10x where you're going.
Yeah,
for sure.
So that was it. So but yeah, everybody here has been helpful. I mean, there's other people here that own electrical businesses that are very forthcoming, very helpful. So that's great. Like that's a huge tool that we can help. So
Jim, isn't the reality like? I know that we all, we're working in the same trade for electrical work, but the reality is there is so much out there.
Oh,
we do not need to be afraid of not getting work, and the reality is it's like the deficit towards skilled workers in the electrical trade is gigantic.
We need to be more worried about the next generation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the current generation.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to a local community college, started out with 22, ended with 8, and to my knowledge, I'm the only one strictly doing electrical work.
Wow.
So the rest of them have chose different career paths.
Yeah.
And that's why 2007, but is when I finished up school. But so there is like this gap of like how are the employees being treated?
Yeah.
And how many figured out on your own are there? And now, like, I'm not saying you need to hold somebody's hand, but you need to help them get there.
Absolutely.
So.
I mean, and what that does to an individual, the days of us as tradesmen and tradeswomen being like, we almost used to like wear it as a badge of honor. They don't get that. They don't know that. And the reality is, if you're on a job and you're doing that, you're part of the problem. Like, it is such a detriment. It should be like, here, let me show you how to enter this trade and how to learn this. And those guys that were teaching those classes, those are guys that are in the field, that they're still doing work, and they also work here, and they're a part of that. And that's because they need to keep sharp. Like, I'm not in the field anymore, and it shows. Yeah. Like,
I miss it.
Yeah.
I'm not in the field nearly as much as I can, and now I go out, I feel like I'm in the way. But
that's because you are.
Yeah,
that's because you are.
I know they're too nice to say it sometimes, but
I've been, my leadership team that I told you about, when we reached that point as an electrical company years ago, I remember I'd go out and be like, well, I'm going to come out and help, and they'd be like, please don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I do go out in the field, if I'm out there for half a day, I feel like I'm 4 days behind everywhere else.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
But yeah, so it's almost necessary that we create a path for the next generation to come up. And I personally see, we have a handful of young guys.
Yeah.
They're excellent. They're good. Like anybody that's out
I've
there,
seen that with your team. I can totally see that.
Yeah. And there's people out there saying like, oh, this next generation, this young generation isn't it? I'm like,
oh, that's bullshit.
I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah.
I'll prove you wrong. I'll give you 4 individuals right from our company.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, put them on anything.
Yeah.
Just name it.
The reality is there are people out there that don't want to work, and every generation has them. But the next generation, like some of our best people are from this generation. And I see, I get a chance to see, we have classes every week, and I get a chance to see in these classes. Sometimes I step into a class and whatnot, and the engagement and the effort with which these young men and young women are learning, that is like encouraging to me. I was just in Georgia a couple of weeks ago, and at a school, at an event where they were inviting kids into companies that wanted to pay to put them in apprenticeship programs. That should tell you something. In the trade world, most companies are paying for their employees to learn this and get certified in this way. And it's a legit certification. Yeah. It's not a joke.
No, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Like that's how serious we are about it.
Yeah.
We're not passing the bill off.
You ever see a doctor's office, how they have their credentials like hanging on the wall, framed and whatnot? When I started my first electrical company, I literally hung up my certifications from the state in my office, just like that,
It's all right.
from the apprenticeship program that I was a part of.
That's
And, you know, it's a 4-year program, and it's real. You put as much work as you do, maybe more,
great.
than when you go to college, you know, in learning that, because it's a combined learning of being in the field, working with your hands, and then also that book learning, which is pretty essential.
I think it's great. Like, I think that if you're doing it simultaneously, it'll keep the apprentice, the individual, more engaged. So I think by introducing the field work simultaneously to the classes, it's a good way to stay engaged, keep them involved, and then I mean, 4 years. You and I know 4 years goes by quick now, and might not for a young kid.
It didn't when I was in my 20s, but man, it goes by fast now.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah.
But the value that's there is it's incredible. It's
What would you say to someone like yourself who has a company and they're you know, growing and they're building, especially here in Pennsylvania? What would you say to a company who's like, well, I don't need that. We know how to do that work. I don't need to train in that way. What would you say to them? Because that's some of the questions, like, or some of the things that I've heard stated is, well, we don't need this. It's not a requirement right now to have that. It is for certain areas of the state, but what would you say to a company who's saying, well, I don't know that I need to pay for training for my people? Don't be too harsh.
I know. I'm not gonna. But you are leaving yourself open for a major problem.
Yeah.
Down the road. You don't have it right now.
Yeah.
But down the road, when you have your one key guy
Mm-hmm.
that decides that he's going to leave, or you have a problem with him one day, he decides he's going to leave, and then maybe takes two guys with him.
And it'll happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
unfortunately,
someone told me that years ago, and I'm like, oh, that's not going to happen to me.
Yeah.
And I've lived through that, and it sucks.
It does.
Yeah, but
It does.
it's just part of life.
It is. And yeah, at the time it might sting.
Yeah.
Long term, as long as you're learning from it,
Yeah.
you're doing okay. But you're leaving such an open door of possibilities of problems.
Yeah.
And the personal, like, reward, like what I see, like when I'm passing this off, like even the leadership side, like when we're
Yeah.
talking with our project managers, like I don't want to say feeling, but like the satisfaction I get by watching my guys do
Yeah.
what I'm doing from a leadership perspective, from from providing training, from these things. Like, if I could get them on board with it, like,
Yeah.
they're bought in. They're not only bought into the program, but they're bought into the company. It's a big picture thing, and they're going to attract the next group. They're going to bring in, like, I don't like we spend, like, last month we spent $2,000 on Indeed.
Mhm.
And we didn't get any good qualified
Yeah.
customers. Like, there was one questionable, but all of the guys that work for us right now, less than 10% came from Indeed.
Yeah.
The rest of them were references amongst people in the company already.
Well, and, you know, one of the things that I've learned, and it's part of what Blackline does, and I'm really not trying to sell anything, because there are tons of companies out there, and I could recommend any of them, but what you're talking about there is when you're building culture and then you start to tell that story publicly, and you've started doing that.
Yeah.
And you start to tell that publicly and I get it. Listen, I am the king of hating social media, and I'm only doing it, but you'll see I don't like post my personal life.
Yeah, I don't do much either.
But I'm doing it because that's where the eyes are. When you're promoting that culture that you're building, you're promoting that company that you are, you're telling that story. Well, that is so much more effective than Indeed. Yeah. And I'm not trying to, like, start a fight with Indeed here, but in the trades, it's so important, because those are the, hey, I know this guy, or hey, I'm attracted to that type of company. That's who you want. It saves you so much money in not hiring the wrong person.
Yeah, and I'll be very honest about our Instagram. Our Instagram, like, it's not great. But it's there. It's a work in progress. We're trying. We're actively trying. The purpose of our Instagram is not to get new customers.
Yeah.
Not even one bit.
Yeah.
Like, we don't expect an oil and gas company open up our Instagram and be like, that's our crew right there,
Yeah.
right? No, I want the 20 to whatever 25-year-old individual open up. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like what those guys are doing is cool. I want a part of that.
Well, I really appreciate you stepping up and putting it out there, because that's what we need to do more of.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's better to be putting it out there than even to be hiring a company to do that for you. The reality is ultimately what you want to do is learn how to do it and do it yourself anyway, because you're the one that knows your business. You're the one that knows your work.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the posts we have out right now, they're a work in progress.
Yeah.
Right now we're working on it's somewhat new for us. We've had it, but like we've been consistently new. Like new at it consistently.
Yeah, absolutely.
So right now it's just reps. It's like, let's just try to get this out consistently. Let's do our best. And then we'll fine tune. How are we taking pictures? How are we taking videos? We picking the right songs, like things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm part of that, but as I'm not individually out there taking the photos. So the photos are coming from some of our guys. There's a person that works for us. She is out taking pictures. We have her set up on all the safety programs.
Yeah.
She's fully outfitted with PPE, has FRs and everything, goes out to job sites, and she is out there taking pictures.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's cool. Like
that is really cool.
It's pretty neat, you know. And I don't know of anybody doing that, at least locally, like in our area, doing anything similar to that. So some people might be like, oh, that's an interesting way of spending money.
No, it's great. It's the way to do it. And you're doing it in a way. I hate to plug this guy, because I plug him so much, and he is making podcasting look so easy. It pisses me off. But I just listened to the Per Diem podcast this morning with my son. And my son actually said, you know, Dad, I really like his podcast better than yours. I'm like, thank you. Thanks so much.
Brutal.
Yeah. Well, my son is brutal. But he was talking about marketing in our industry and talking about the importance of not being polished, be real.
Yeah.
You know, be real. That's what people want. They don't want, and it's only going to get worse with AI. It's only going to get worse with, you know, the deep fake isn't going to be a thing anymore. Everything's going to be fake.
Yeah.
And so, and one of the cool things about the trades, and this is why I think Gen Z is really, and the next generation behind that, why they're really going to be coming after trade work. One, it is necessary. The CEO of, is it NVIDIA? What's the chip company? They make the chips. But he came out and he goes, listen, it's not programmers. It's not software guys that we need. He goes, we need tradesmen.
Yeah.
Because they're building data centers to build these things. And they're like, oh, crap. Yeah. We don't have enough people to do the work.
Well, what we're starting to see locally is, and it's not just locally, I'm sure this is across the board, is like private equity firms are involved, like interested in trade businesses. We have there's a plumbing company in our area that's owned by, he purchased it. Previous industry was insurance. He was an insurance agent. Now he's owns a plumbing company.
Yeah.
I don't know him individually. I don't know him personally. I just talk about things I've heard, but I heard there's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's successful. He's doing okay.
Yeah.
He's still in business. I still see the trucks out there on the road. So it's coming.
Oh, it is.
And
it is for sure.
It's not a bad thing.
No, I don't disagree.
It's not private equity.
Yeah, we're not endorsing private equity.
No, I don't know. Okay, I don't know about private equity because that's a
different podcast. You can tune into the Per Diem podcast for that.
Yeah, I'd be err on the side of caution around private equity. But now seeing like how many trade businesses were opened up by businessmen. Right?
Yeah,
very few.
Yeah,
almost every. I would be willing to say 9 out of 10. Maybe more. Are opened up, a business is opened up by a tradesperson. So an electrician opens up an electrical contracting company. I think it's going to change.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a shift. I think we're going to see more business people involved, and it's going to get competitive.
Yeah.
But the trade people that are the tradesmen will have that leg up. At least
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and the reality is they'll have that because it's not something that you can do overnight. You have to learn it. You have to know it. We were just talking with the students today about how this is a life safety thing that they're learning.
Yeah.
This is not something that you can't know it. Like you can't, you have to pay attention. You have to know this stuff. Yeah. So it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It's good to watch.
So Jim, last question.
Yeah.
What's a mistake that you've made that you would be willing to share with people that are listening? That you've learned from?
Yeah, so I got a couple. I mean, I'm a pretty open book with
Yeah.
mistakes, and I'm trying to think of from a professional standpoint.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake was how I treated people in the beginning,
Mm.
employees. How the way I acted when things went wrong.
Yeah.
I grew up with that old school mentality. Like I worked for my dad. I worked around like old school construction workers, and I can handle it pretty well. I feel like I can handle it pretty well. Like, you get yelled at, and somebody yells at you, and you're like, okay, that's no problem,
Yeah.
And but that's not how everybody works anymore.
Yeah.
So you have to do it differently, and barking at people, and not being true and not being open. It slowed me down. It slowed the business down. That was in like the earlier stages of the business. Like I said, individually it was okay. The business was excelling, but I noticed I was burning through people.
Yeah.
So that's something that I would say is a pretty substantial mistake in the beginning stages of learning. It took quite a bit of a mind shift to get me away from that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still get fired up about stuff, right?
Yeah.
But like now it's not like a direct shot on
Yeah.
any individual. The first shot anymore is on myself. It's like, all right, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
I've had situations recently where I'm like, all right, this was out of my control, but how could I have changed it? So like now I'm looking back at myself more often than I did at the time. That would be a professional side of it.
Yeah.
It was a field experience. I got hit pretty good with capacitance charge on the line. And that was probably the most humbling moment in my life.
Really?
Yeah. If I think back to it, that's one of those days you call your wife or you text your wife, say,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, I love you."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and then like she just called me. She's like, "What happened?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "I'm alive. I'm good." But and it kind of hits on the importance of training,
Yeah.
right? I'll do a little bit of dive. I'm not proud of this. So anybody listening to this is not like hey, I did this, guys. Like this is something that was stupid.
Yeah.
Right. So we were troubleshooting a transformer, a medium voltage transformer, 35 kV down to 480.
You're making me sweat, dude.
Opened up the cutouts, right? So we cracked open the cutouts. The problem was the cutouts are 3 miles away from the transformer.
What?
Yes. So you can imagine the capacitance charge on underground that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're sitting here.
I'm here.
That's amazing.
I'm here. Yeah. I'm an idiot.
Sorry, I'm not trying.
Yeah, no. This happened, and I thought about it, and at the time, I was like, I'm not gonna tell my guys about this. I'm not.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we
did.
published this, right? Like this is.
It's okay. No, it's
Yeah.
okay. This is like a learning experience.
Absolutely.
This is something that, and it could have been worse than it was for sure. But I want to do. I was going to do a windings test on the transformer, make sure we didn't drop a, open up a winding inside the transformer. So I was pulling the load break elbow out, and didn't discharge the capacitance.
Mm.
So I didn't discharge. I didn't have a device there to discharge. And at this time, we don't do much medium voltage work.
Right.
But at the time, I was involved with it.
Yeah.
Every time we did it, we brought on a subcontractor and worked with them. This was, go figure, the first time that I was doing it by myself. Well, I got hit with the capacitance charge off the load break elbow.
Wow.
Yeah, it hurt. I'm wondering if it was like a lot more mental, because like I had this like moment where I was about to faint, and I never fainted before in my life.
Yeah.
So I kind of caught my balance a little bit. One of the guys was there with me. This was a little bit far away from home. It was south of where I live, and the guy I was out there with was not the mentor, the medium voltage mentor I was working with.
Yeah.
And he comes over and he puts his arms underneath my arms and keeps me up, get me back to the truck. My pinky was like twice the size of my thumb.
Yeah.
It had 2 little pinholes in it.
Yeah.
And this side over here had 1 little pinhole in this pinky. This pinky didn't swell up. This one was huge. I was fine. I went to the doctor. I got EKG. I went through all the whole setup.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, I know. Like this is something I'm saying out loud, and this is going out everywhere. But I want to take it as a learning experience, and I want to share it. Like, it's not something I want to hide behind.
Well, and I mean, the reality is, these things happen. and you don't want to hide behind it. And yeah,
No, and it was a major mistake, right? It could have
Yeah.
cost me. It could have cost me my life. Like
Yeah.
it was a very good possibility.
well, praise God that it didn't.
It didn't. I'm so glad it didn't. But yeah, I got myself together. Went and I got checked out. And then I went back and I finished my troubleshooting on that transformer. Turns out transformer was bad. But yeah, because I don't need to get into electrical theory, but in
I know
electrical
what you-
theory, that
yeah.
capacitance might have not been there if it was transformer was good. But regardless, so
If you want to learn more about that,
Yeah.
BlacklineLTD.com.
Yeah, so I would say that's as far as field experience goes, my biggest mistake I made.
Yeah.
A mistake I wish I didn't make.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could.
Most
just
of the
tell you.
mistakes in my life are ones I wish I didn't make, but the reality is I know myself enough that I just had this discussion with someone the other day. If I wouldn't have made that mistake, it wouldn't have been painful enough for me to learn it because I'm a pretty thick-headed son of a gun.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why it took me so long to figure out the whole leadership and running a company correctly. I'm a little bit thick-headed myself.
well,
So
yeah. Oh, I mean, there are things in life that I wish that I would have learned quicker because it would have been less painful. A matter of fact, sometimes when I'm in the midst of learning something, sometimes I make mistakes and I pay for them for a year or a half a year or whatever. And it's like, I'll be in the midst of paying for that mistake. And I'm like, I've had multiple times in the morning in my quiet time where I'm like, okay, what do I need to learn to just be through this and be done with it? Like, what is it that I need to figure out and know so that I can no longer be learning this? Like I just went through it.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I mean, major lesson learned there on our part was like, are we an electrical contractor that gets involved in medium voltage?
Yeah.
Do we do it every day? The answer is no.
Yeah.
So should we be doing it?
Right.
Answer is no.
Right.
So right to this day, right now, we don't get involved with it.
Yeah.
Now, is it a closed door? Absolutely not.
Right.
So if we get ourselves up through training, get experienced personnel behind it, then absolutely.
Yeah.
But it was a lesson learned.
Yeah.
I don't want to end on that note. So
No,
pick up something else.
well, I think, the reality is you're talking about learning from mistakes and applying them and growing. And that's why you're here today.
Yeah.
That's why you're here. And you have a team of people that you're building with, and you've established a base to, you said earlier, Alex Judd made this comment about you want to go fast, you go alone, and you clearly are wanting to go far. And I can see that you're doing that. I would make this statement, to say everybody says that statement. I can't tell you how many people that I know that have been a part of our team that are like, oh, I want to go with the team. And I didn't realize that they didn't.
Yeah.
And I don't even think, and this is where it's my fault. I think I failed them. Those people who are like, well, I want to go with the team. And then it turns out they're not a team player. I did a disservice of not educating them of what our understanding of team is.
Yeah.
And that's a big one for me that I've been learning. A mistake that I've made is I don't know if I fully communicated, hey, this is what team here looks like. And I can't really be mad at them. I am mad at some of them. But that's a me thing, and I'm dealing with it. But the reality is I can't really be mad at them if I didn't communicate it well in the beginning of this is what team looks like at Blackline. This is what team looks like in this organization. This is what this looks like. And the reality is some of them I didn't do well with that. And that's on me.
It's funny you say that because a lot of we do with Path for Growth is defining certain things. Like we have certain, like we call them success statements, right? And well, one of them was like internally, it's like, I want everybody at our company, and I use this kind of jokingly, but it's serious, but like, I want everybody at our company to be a wizard, right? It doesn't matter if you're the guy working at the shop. I want you to be the best shop guy.
Yeah.
So the conversation got brought up this week was, well, how do you define wizard? I'm like, oh man. I'm like, all right, I got to do that, right? He's like, yeah. He's like, you have to set a clear expectation.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and to double down on that success statements, part of this company, like part of this whole, like, not shift because it's been shifting. It's this direction that we're going. Is one of the success statements that we had to do like day one with Path for Growth was like, what do you want? Like, what do you want this company to be? And the biggest thing, considering the next generation and generation after that, was like, I want this company to be like anywhere, any position here. If my children work here in any position, I want to know that they're in a spot where they could grow within a company.
Absolutely.
And that's what we've been building it off of. So
Good
the
for
whole
you.
company's been built off that. Now, whether my kids decide that they want to be part of this organization or not, that's at least 12 years down the road,
Yeah.
right? But if they do decide that, like, if they were accounts payable in the office, then that's okay. Like, I would just know that that's a good position. So, I look at people working here a little bit differently, just by using that mindset.
Absolutely.
So,
well, and it truly is, again, not a plug, but it truly is the path for growth.
yeah. Well, think about my company, like when I made that mistake, right?
Yeah.
It was years ago. This is a while. This is a while ago. This is well before. Oh, man.
It wasn't last week.
No, it wasn't. I want to put it back far as I can. But, but like, if I think about that, right, and I think about if I were a parent and that were my kid,
Yeah.
like, how would I feel about that company? The company's trash, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel. So I'm like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Well,
and the only way to get there is training. And is what I mean by that is repetitive teaching and learning, and going over it over and over again. We don't do this because of this.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what makes you a good company, because you're learning from your mistakes.
Yeah. And it's not this like push on safety or training to abide by certain regulations or other companies. This is genuine.
Yeah.
And even at the start of this, I told everybody in our company, I said, if at any given point this feels like not genuine, not real, we're doing this because somebody's demanding it of us, I'm like, you need to tell me. I'm like, if I get out there, like if I'm detached, I'm like, you need to reel me back in. Yeah. And that was open conversation to everybody. Yeah. So I want to know, like, hey, am I getting a little bit loopy out here? Like, is this getting crazy? This is not relative what we're doing. I need to know. Yeah. And thankfully, so far nobody's said that yet. So it's keeping it realistic. Yeah. Is the goal as well. So there's a lot.
Good for you,
a lot
man.
to do, but
there's a lot to do.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
It is. It's an exciting path. I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Well, Jim, thank you for joining me and stepping up to the line. I greatly appreciate this conversation.
Yeah, likewise. This is great. So
all right.
Thanks to you.